Veteran Trash Talk, we actually vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a Butterbar lieutenant lost on a land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran and their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. Sorry for all the noise and everything going on. I am here in Italy. I'm in San Marino at an island. The internet connection is going to freeze up or not freeze up, so I hope you're hearing me here right now. We have a great guest come on today. I'm super happy to have them on. They just came out with a documentary on Make the Peace or Die. It's a really touching and moving story. But before we jump into that, I need to go around the horn there with all the QR codes you're seeing. And so with the one up at the top right, as you can see, is for Visa Across America. You know, as long as they replay my podcast on Fridays and Sundays at 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., it's super easy to find. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, and search for Reese Across America Radio for not only my great podcast, but all the great podcasts they have. But along with that, you know, Reese Across America, you know how they put the wreaths on the memorial of the soldiers, you know, on the holiday season there at all the cemeteries across the United States. So it's super easy. You just scan that QR code. And for as little as $10, you can donate. You can also personalize a wreath for the soldier. Sorry for all the background noise. But then you got 10th Man. Hey, Brian, how you doing? And then you saw the video on before with Veterans Mortgage, powered by Canopy Mortgage. And then along with that, if you're PCSing, if you're active duty military and you're PCSing to Hawaii, you can scan that QR code. They'd be more than happy to help you out. But hey, with that, I'm going to go ahead and have Chris put me on mute. I'm going to turn it over to you. And hey, listen, if my internet freezes up, it does come and go here on the island. I'm literally an hour and a half off the Italian coast here at the Touring Club Italiano. So super proud to be here. But first of all, I want to thank my guests for coming on the show. Super proud, you know, to have them on. And Lynn, I hope you're doing okay. I know you had a fun weekend. And I'm go ahead and turn it over to you. And Chris, go ahead and put me on my.
Len, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm mute. I was muted. I think we're all like just trying to get back into the flow of things. This past weekend, I'm still recovering from my jet lag because it's 12 hours ahead in the Philippines, and so just coming back from there. I'm still like trying to recover. I actually had to leave work early today because I just can't get my sleep schedule correct. But I'm here now, and I just woke up from my nap. I just some quick updates with Irreverent Warriors. If you're out there here in Florida or South Georgia, we're going to be doing our hike in July 11th and July 12th. It's going to be a night hike. So those that are interested, go ahead and please sign up. Find us on irreverentwarriors.com on Jack's Beach. I'm super excited to have our guests here. Make Peace or Die. I understand that you guys are making a film. So I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to y'all. You can introduce yourself. Tell us about what you've been up to with the veteran community.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Manny Marquez. This is my brother Anthony. I'm the filmmaker of Make Peace or Die, the director. Anthony was the subject and producer of the film. We made a film. Anthony was staying in Afghanistan with the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines in 2011. And on that deployment, they lost 17 Marines, KIA. And so what we did on the 10th anniversary of their deployment is we got into an RV and traveled around the country and went to each of their Gold Star families. And we wanted to give them a voice and to make the names of those 17 men known. And so we've made a movie called Make Peace or Die, which is the motto of the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. And it was about Anthony coming to grips with his own healing and helping these families, providing a space for healing for them by giving them a platform to talk about their sons and their Marine. And so that movie actually premiered on PBS stations across the nation on Veterans Day last year. And now they brought it back on Memorial Day. So it's actually playing for free right now on PBS Passport app, and the PBS YouTube page. Until June 21st, it's free to watch. After that, it remains on the PBS Passport app for $5 a month or something like that. So, yeah, then turn it over to Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony Marquez served in the Marine Corps from 2007 to 2012, and then got out and came home and started working for the family business, and then got into chainsaw carvings. That's something that kind of we touch on in the film. I've done and delivered a carving to all the Gold Star families whose son was killed on that deployment.
It's a battlefield cross.
Yeah, it's the image of the battlefield cross. It's the rifle, the helmet, and the boots. And so from 2016 to 2019, I hand-delivered one of those to all of the parents and one of the widows of all the 17 guys. And then in 2021, we decided we were going to make the feature film about collectively all the stories, give a platform for all the families and Marines from the unit to actually share the stories of who these guys were, the families who raised them and the Marines who served with them. So,
yeah, I'm sure that's great, keeping their memories alive. But tell me more about your unit. So you said that 17 guys didn't make it back home. How many of how many was in your unit?
I mean, a battalion's probably 1,000 plus.
Okay.
With all of our attachments and everything. So, yeah, we took our first KIA on Easter Sunday morning, April 24th, and then our 17th KIA on September 15th. All that summer months of 2011, okay. And during that time, we had close to 200 or a little over 200 Marines that were wounded, some severely, some minor. So yeah, it was a rough deployment. We replaced 3-5 Dark Horse in that area. They had 25 Marines that were killed in action, and then I think 1-8 or 1-7 replaced us in October of 2011.
Yeah, that's tough. I saw in the summary it said that some people or you yourself also struggled with survivor's guilt, and I know a lot of us have had that. I've been to OIF, and I know Cliff has also did OIF and OEF, and it's not easy living with that. And does that focus on your story, the survivor's guilt, or is it just an all-around theme?
It touches on everything. I mean, I think that's kind of a want to continue serving, and then just also trying to give back to their families. I mean, you could tie it all in together probably to some sort of guilt. I was a dog handler in the unit, so I had a bomb dog. And out of our battalion, out of 1,000 plus people, there was, I think, 16 of us that were dog handlers.
I think Anthony, I could say Anthony, like I think part of what motivated him at first was that survivor's guilt, but then he turned that into another form of service, like being out of the military. He thought, oh, I'm not doing my part. I'm not serving. And then when we created this film, when we went out and did this, he goes, yeah, now I see that what I'm doing is serving in a different way. And so I'm not saying he still doesn't have that. I don't know, but he rechanneled it.
Absolutely. It's important. Like what Cliff just put in the notes, it's important to find your path, and then finding that service again and that purpose, right? When you got in touch with those 17 families, how hard was it to get them on board or get in touch with them? Because I'm sure they're probably from all over the nation and you had to go travel. So
Yeah.
tell us about those travels and getting in touch with the families.
So in 2016, one of the Gold Star mothers attempted suicide, and I found out about it. So I felt that I needed to do something for her family. And so then when that turned into doing the carvings for all the families. And so over the course of the next just about 3 years, I drove 46,000 miles all over the country and hand delivered one to all their parents. But then when we went in, and I talked to Manny about this just a few weeks ago, it said, with doing the carvings and then making the movie, doing the carvings helped the families be comfortable with us coming into their homes and sitting down and actually doing the interviews with us. So I think the actual making the film and interviewing the families, that they trusted us at that point to come into their homes and sit down and have a meal and show us their son's room and on camera. Because when I delivered the carvings from 2016 and 2019, I was meeting most of these families for the first time. Yeah.
Right.
I'd be by myself, and I would meet the families at the cemetery. And if they couldn't be there, then I'd go to the cemetery and then go to their home. And then sometimes I'd go to the cemetery and I'd meet just the parents, or there'd be 50 people that knew the Marine when he was growing up, or relatives, friends. And then we'd go back to their house and they'd have a barbecue and just hang out. And so that really helped lay the path for them to feel comfortable with us coming into their homes a couple years later and making the film and interviewing them.
He had kind of done all that groundwork, creating relationships with them by delivering those carvings. So by the time we went on the road, they were ready. Not, I won't say ready to talk to us, but they were open to the conversation.
They were more receptive.
Yeah.
Right. So from the going to do the carvings to creating, or the concept, the idea of doing the movie or the documentary, how long in between time did you have?
Well, you finished the last carving in 2019, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, COVID hit. So we were going to start this, in 2020, but we had to be responsible too. Some of these families are a little more elderly. We had to be responsible with, we didn't want to travel the nation and be,
Right.
super spreaders here. And so we put it off until about May of 21. And then Anthony just said, if we're going to do this, we got to do it. This is the year. This is the 10-year anniversary. Right. Let's get on the road. So from July, when we started filming, to when we finished the movie was about 3 years.
It premiered. We had the world premiere at the GI Film Festival in San Diego last May. And then we did a few more film festivals throughout the summer, but it premiered on national television on the broadcast on Veterans Day
of 2024
of last year.
And I'm sure that's super healing for you and the family to be able to talk about it and give back to the community. And it resonates with the community, now that we are getting out of most of the people who participated in GWAT, we're all getting out or have retired already, and so now we're seeing the after effects of how it affects all of our loved ones and our family and our communities. And so it makes a big impact when you're able to see that movie or those documentaries and those individual stories that come out. Because I know I've seen a couple of documentaries come out also that focused on a couple families of that, but definitely bringing awareness to everything and how, and I think it helps society paint a different picture about us and help them understand us more.
Go ahead.
So what we did is we feel like our film is completely different than any other documentary that has been made, because it really focuses on Gold Star families. And there's still a big portion of the nation that don't even know what a Gold Star family is. And so that's what, when I delivered the carving to all the 17 families, and they all said the same thing, that they're just afraid their son would be forgotten. So the film was a way that Manny and I talked about to give them a platform to talk about their sons. And, you know, and Manny could touch on this, how when we were travel and how people, we talk to people and they wouldn't even know. They'd ask what you guys are doing, because we'd have a camera, tell them about the movie. We're making a movie about Gold Star families, and they'd be like, oh, what's that? So, you know, a good portion of the nation still doesn't know. And so we saw there's a lack. Like you see a lot of stuff that is out there, outlets for veterans and service members, but there's just the families, some of the families feel like they're kind of forgotten about. And so,
yeah, I just feel like in the documentary space, there's a lot of movies about, you know, PTSD. There's a lot of movies about, and those are important. There's a lot of movies about psilocybin and mushrooms and marijuana use among veterans. And there's a lot of movies about combat. But we didn't see a lot of movies about Gold Star families. And we felt that there was a real need to really highlight the Gold Star family story, because when we go to film festivals and people start talking to us, and they may be people that were protesting the war 15 years ago, but they go, I am so torn right now because I didn't know that my neighbor had lost a son and I never knocked on their door. How do I talk to a Gold Star family? People will ask us,
right, from
all walks of life, left, right, center, yeah, every religion. How do I talk to a Gold Star family? How do I know who they are? Where do I find them? I said, they're everywhere. They're 3 doors down from your house. They're grocery shopping with you. They go to your church. You know, so it's like, be a little more aware of what a Gold Star family is. And if you see one or hear of someone that is, be there for them. Don't make a big deal out of it, but be there for them and have empathy. And our movie was always meant to be a movie about empathy and healing. It was never been a movie to criticize the military, criticize the government, or this or that. We were there for 20 years and everyone was tired of those wars going so long as a nation. But our movie was not about that. Our movie is about healing and empathy, you know?
Absolutely. So tell me about some of the families that kind of stuck out to you.
They come from all walks of life. I mean, everywhere from Mexican-American families to your family down the road, your typical Anglo family, to Sikh Indians. I mean, you know, like we have, it's the U.S. military. It's diverse, you know, like it really is truly diverse. But
I think Manny and I have a great relationship with the Gold Star family. So I can't tell you what sticks out to me, but I can tell you what sticks out to other people when they talk to us about the film. Is there one family that they never had a Marine visit them in over 10 years, except for when I delivered a carving to them. And then when we came into their home to interview them for the film, you know, so there's like, people will talk about that. You know, it's just everybody, I don't know, they're all special to us, and there's nothing to me, and I can probably say this for Manny too, there's nothing that sticks out specifically for any individual family. But one thing I do see, especially when you sit through the interviews, because the interviews of the film, you know, the film's an hour and 25 minutes, I believe. And some of the interviews we had with these families, they're 2.5, 3 hours long. They're twice as length of the film. They're longer than the film. Some of them are 45 minutes. And but one thing you realize is the Gold Star families, they grieve a lot of the same ways, and they say a lot of the same things. So they have a lot in common outside of just losing their son or their daughter or their loved one.
There's a scene in the movie that at near the end, and you know, spoiler alert, but we get the families together, and one of the mothers says, you know, you take one stick and you try to break it, and it's real easy, but you take 17 sticks and you put them together, it's a lot harder to break. And you know, by the making of this movie, she said we made them into 17 sticks. We've made those families didn't know each other, other than they may have seen each other on the parade deck. They may have seen each other on the parade deck when they came back for the memorial service, but they didn't know each other. Because of our film, they all know each other. You know,
we held an event at Camp Pendleton in 2022, summer 2022, and we brought our old battalion commander in, who was stationed in Stuttgart, Germany. He was a brigadier general at the time, and then we had multiple Gold Star families, and we had multiple Marines from the unit, and even who served in the unit during that time, and then after, and then who are currently serving with the 1-5 unit. And it brought a lot of the families together. on top of First Sergeant's Hill at Camp Pendleton in San Mateo. There's kind of a sacred ground for the Marine Corps and memorials, and it's First Sergeant's Hill. And we hiked First Sergeant's Hill, and they carried one of my carvings that I did and presented to the unit. And we brought, we had coordinated with the DoD for 4 months, got permission, got all shut off ranges, got all the rides for the Gold Star families who couldn't hike it. And it was just like a big gathering at the top that I think a lot of them needed. And then now, some of those families were meeting the second time on top of that hill. And after 10, 12, 11 years later, and they're still, it established a relationship for them too. And it established a relationship with other Marines, with the families as well. Because I've had a Gold Star family send me screenshots, messages of someone that a Marine sent them. And, and it says like, I've thought about reaching out to you for 10 years and I just never have. And then I watched the movie and, so that's a good thing as well, as like there's other Marines from the unit that are reaching out to these families and sharing stories that they have from the service they had with their son.
Yeah, that's amazing. It said so. Cliff, he can't talk right now in the back. He has music in the background, but he commented as a survivor who had a documentary filmed about himself. I'm sure you guys know that Cliff is a suicide survivor. So he's had a documentary filmed on himself and won an Emmy. But he says it's amazing to let people tell their story. As far as Gold Star family goes, I can see that, when the service member passes away, that's when they have all the attention. Then after that, what happens next? And eventually they come together, and that just opens up a whole other avenue for the Gold Star families to help heal them. We have all these retreats. Like I came from a retreat for veterans, combat vets and GWAT vets. And I imagine having that for Gold Star families getting together and then having, just ongoing things for them, because they grieve and they're going through their things, and it doesn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, the Gold Star families grieve just like the service members, and even worse. Yeah, and I always tell people they might not have been there when their son or daughter was killed, but they still, they still have that deep grief, and they grieve even more than us. And to go back on your point about Cliff's documentary, but like Manny can tell you, I didn't even want to be in the documentary. The whole premises of the film was to give the families and other Marines who have survived the deployment a platform to tell these stories on. And I didn't even want to be in the movie. And Manny was like, well, I'm not going to make it if you're not in the movie. And, so I agreed to be in it. And yeah, it does have parts of my story in it, but it's collective. It's the bigger picture collectively.
Yeah. And we do touch on those other topics. Cliff, just so you know, I wasn't denigrating anyone else's experience. We just saw a space where we needed to tell that story. And even in the film, we discuss Anthony contemplated suicide twice, had a gun in his mouth. He talks about it. In the movie, we have another Marine in the movie. It says the same thing, wrapped himself up in his poncho, put his Glock to his head, and didn't go off. We touch on those things. We interviewed 23 Marines over the course of that trip and 4 Navy corpsmen. And they don't all make the movie, but we heard these stories over and over again. And we wanted to also show that there's a parallel suffering between the service members and the families, because it's just oftentimes that people forget the service member, the families are suffering. They see the veterans because we have all these TV shows and things in the news, but they don't see the families because sometimes they suffer quietly. And so you're right. We talk about in the movie, they fly them into Dover. The casket comes, that we talk about this. There's 500 people line the streets when the body comes home to the small town. They see the mom in the grocery store. They want to buy her groceries. They want to take her to coffee. And then 6 months later, complete silence.
Right.
And so we can't.
And then there's an awkwardness. Yeah. And some of the families talk about it. Then there's an awkwardness after that. Like, just like I have a friend of mine who's amputee. He lost his legs. And he always says, when I lost my legs and came home, Anthony just treated me like a normal person. Like he did. When you talk to the families, just have a conversation with them. But sorry.
No, that's just
absolutely. It's important to give a voice to those who wouldn't have it otherwise, and different stories need to be told. And like Cliff said, some families seem to be left out after that. After they have the ceremony, then the families are gone. We've had a couple Gold Star wives on our show, but that was due to the after effects of the war, and they became. Is it gold? No, it's not Gold Star. They call it Green Star now. Green Star is when their
Is it
spouse
suicide or like
suicide. Their spouse commits suicide, and then they're left behind. There's not a lot of resources for that, and so with you guys doing that with the families, getting them together and doing that small hike is definitely healing for everybody, and it's an ongoing thing. And just creating that community is important, for those families. And I feel like there should be more of that going on.
Yeah, we definitely created a family. I mean, these people came to his wedding. I mean, it's after the movie. It wasn't just a movie. And we, in PBS, when it came out in November, there was over 1.3 million people watch this on traditional television. Everybody, we're streaming now. Everybody streams, right? And I'm so happy because there's a platform for all these things. But to have 1.3 million people watch this in the month of November, and now we're back on Memorial Day right after Gary Sinise's big Memorial Day thing on PBS. Like, how many people watched it again? We don't know. We haven't had the ratings yet. We'll have the ratings soon. But I think if we set out to give a voice to these families and to make the names of those 17 men known, and we know for a fact over 1.3 million people have seen it, so we have done that.
Like Cliff says in the comments, it's amazing. It tells you that you did the right thing.
Well, yeah, thank you. We didn't do it for us. We did it for the 17 and their family. And Anthony has some healing too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I call him the reluctant hero. He didn't want to be healed, but we're forcing him,
The reluctant hero. I love that.
Yeah.
Cliff, are you able to join in? Oh, you can't.
Unmute it for a second. Tell Krista unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Yeah, so they just started karaoke here in the bar. I thought they were going to stop by now. But real quick, I just want to say, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but, it's amazing to have the Gold Star families to be able to tell you a story. Manny, I understand the part of, needing to heal, finding a way that works for you and able to be able to heal. Not only am I a suicide survivor, I also deployed in OIF, 06, 08, lost a lot of good friends. And was injured myself with the TBI and hearing. So I understand the pain, but also understand the needing to find a way to redirect your energy and redirect things. And what an amazing thing that you both did, because I couldn't imagine losing a son or a daughter, and then not being able to say anything about them, to let them, to be people to remember them and think about them. And just like when I went through with my documentary Surviving Suicide, the Able Channel film, it gave us a different platform to tell the story. But also all the other people and all the other families you help, you'll never know the true amount of people that you help with that. And, and just like you said, they all become friends, they hang out, they got to know each other. You can never normalize the situation, but you can normalize it some, if that makes sense, right? And so now these families can talk about their sons or daughters. They can talk about what happened. They can talk about the good things and the good memories. And I can understand that you doing that and making that you feel good. As somebody who has survivor guilt, I jumped in the water and saved 3 out of 4 fishermen one day in 2009, and I had the guilt of not saving the 4th one. And a friend of mine said, well, you saved 3 out of the 4. What are you upset about? Right? That wouldn't have made it had you not been there. So it's a hard thing to get over, but I'm hoping that with this and allowing those families to tell their story. Sorry if I'm talking so fast. I'm trying to get in between songs here. They really, and I know they appreciate it, but I was truly touched when Visa Across America Radio reached out to me to reach to you guys, and I found out about your story and what you're doing, and what an amazing way to heal, because it's so important with people with PTSD and other issues to find a thing healing for them, and it's different for everybody, and that's okay. They're going to get loud. I'm going to shut up now. Chris, mute me, and I'll turn it back over to you and Lynn.
Yeah, absolutely. To talk about what Cliff was saying, it's so hard to get over that PTSD and all the other issues, and just providing that outlet for the family is amazing. You know, because the families, they are going through their things too, and definitely all the healing, it helped them heal some, having the other Marines come and tell their stories.
We've seen that. I mean, the whole project started because one of the mothers attempted suicide. So like, I mean, this is a cry for help. We can see that we need to reach out and do something. I mean, Anthony, that's what he was doing with the carving. So we knew there was more work to be done. I think the film was something we always wanted to do, but he had to do his carvings first to kind of get his bearings on how to be in touch with them and everything. So, yeah. But
Is
yeah,
there
they're going through a lot.
Is there a plan to expand farther, or to with other families, or to make other events in the future for these families?
Well, I always tell Anthony that this movie is like raising a child. Like, the movie might be done, but the movie is not done because we have to
Correct.
foster it. We have to foster it through the world. And so,
Mhm.
right now, I can't say too much about it, but we're working on another streaming release on a different platform that will reach a different audience. We're still maybe possibly working on a theatrical release that would reach a different audience. And so, and as far as where we do, we're not going to do, somebody called us and said, I want to do part two. And we're like, we're not doing part two. Like, this is our story. We made this movie. We welcome other people to go tell their stories. We may make another movie about something else in the veteran space. I'm working on another project about Vietnam vet. But it's like, and I don't just do veteran projects, but, I think this movie will be its own thing for the 17 and those Gold Star families. But we'll continue having screenings. And as Suzanne, our producer, is our impact producer, we're planning on doing a tour to, like, maybe in the hometowns of the fallen to connect to the immediate people in those towns with our movie. And so there's and even maybe some future stuff, even with people like Reads Across America, to get it out with some of their efforts. And so, we're working on stuff. The movie's not done. We just have to find ways to push it in different directions.
Yeah. And on top of that too, like, we still have investors that we're working to pay. To Manny and I, our biggest thing is to continue to push the story and to pay off all of our investors.
Yeah, we're still paying back to people help us make it. So.
Right. So let me see. So it's Anthony, right? Anthony?
Anthony.
I'm like, Anthony and Manny. Anthony, so you made those wood carvings, and it helped you heal, and it helped you connect with, that part of your life with the people from your unit and the family members from your unit. Tell us a little bit more about your story and your healing journey.
So I've done 82 of my carvings now. I have them in over 25 states. Manny and I were just in France last month, and we gave a carving to the Archbishop of the French military. So, and then we have one in the National Museum of the Marine Corps. So, I mean, I just, my own healing journey is just continuing to find ways to serve the families and Marines from the unit. This is the best way that I found, is just with the chainsaw doing these carvings. And I had no chainsaw carving experience outside of cutting firewood in 2016. And when I found out about my friend's mother, I Googled chainsaw carvers of Oklahoma, found a guy. Him and I did the first one together, and did it. I did it and drove through the night and gave it to his mother at his grave on the 5th anniversary of his death on July 12th, 2016. And then from that point, I was like, okay, well, I need to do it for the rest of them. That's when it took just under 3 years to travel all over the country and hand deliver them. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my healing journey is just continuing to serve in some capacity and giving back to the families. I mean, even with our film, Annie always says there's this more stuff that I try to add on. Like, there's something in we collected a uniform item, a Marine Corps dress blue uniform item from all the 17 Gold Star families, and it makes one uniform. And we donate that uniform to the National Museum of the Marine Corps with one of chainsaw carvings. It's on display now at the National Museum of the Marine Corps in Triangle, Quantico, Virginia. And So yeah, it's just always trying to find what's the next way, what can we do next. But the film, and people ask me like, what are you gonna do now that the film over? And like Manny said, it's not over. Like there's stages of making the film, and we're in like towards that last stage, which is the longest one, which is pushing the story, continuing to get it finished product out.
But I will say there was a tangible healing for Anthony. I mean, he got married after the movie. He has a son. Like there's things.
Congratulations.
You could see there's things that came out of his life that weren't happening prior to that. So
right.
I think he had some healing.
I think that echoes with the veteran community is continuing service and continuing service to others. That's why Cliff and I do this podcast. That's why we do Veteran Trash Talk. That's why I do Irreverent Warriors. And my mission with Irreverent Warriors is to bring veterans together to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. And just having that service to community, it gives you that purpose. And that service is instilled into our blood. And that's what we do. We help other people, and in helping other people, that's how we help them. And Chris said, let's see, don't forget, that's how VTT was born, was the need for healing with Nick and his PTSD. And that's right. So when we started Veteran Trash Talk, Nick and them started Veteran Trash Talk, it was just the boys getting together, telling their stories, sharing stories and sharing laughs and just making fun of each other. And they were like, oh, we should probably turn this into a podcast. And from that, they grew a big community. And then we started helping veterans too, especially during COVID. During COVID was a hard time for a lot of people because we were all in isolation and we weren't able to get out there. And as human beings, we need that interaction with other people. And that's the hardest part for veterans, is to get us outside that door, or to get us to actually interact, because we all become recluse. We all just want to, become introverted. And just, we say we hate people, but really we need people. We need our brothers and sisters. We need to be out there. We need to serve each other.
It's a community, the veteran community. I'm not a veteran, but I was blessed to make the film and be around a lot of Marines and veterans. And it's a community that needs interaction and tangible, meetings and getting together and hikes and dinners. And like, I've seen that. It's like, you like to be with each other. You're a family. Even Marines that don't know each other become family, And so I think that was part of the reason why I wanted to do the RV. It was like, you physically take your equipment, you get into an RV and you drive and you go to these places and you're in their hometown and you're in their bedroom and you're in their parents' living room and their mom just made you breakfast and, the dad's showing you the hot rod he's working on or whatever. And it's like, it's a tangible thing. It's important to have human relationships. And that's the only way you're going to heal, is to build on those relationships.
Absolutely. Building on those relationships, and then like having those acts of service to others. That's what we signed our on the dotted line, is to serve. And that service continues forever for a majority of us.
You just redirect it.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris said you wanted to come on. Go ahead and come on.
Oh, you said it, Len. I was just going to say that's exactly why VTT was created, was therapy. It's Nick's therapy. It's the boys' therapy. They were part of the 82nd Airborne 2 Panther, and they were in Samara. They were in a lot of bad stuff. Nick was there when Joe earned his Purple Heart. Joe was there when Nick earned his Purple Heart. Dave was there when Nick and Joe both earned their Purple Hearts. They grew up together and chewed the same dirt as all the other guys. And during COVID, all of their behavioral health while they were active duty was ripped away from them. And Nick struggled bad. And so he was like, hey, jumped online with Joe. They were doing Zoom calls. We're like, dude, we're really fucking funny. We should, sorry, Cliff. Sorry. We're not allowed to cuss on Rees Across America, but they're like, we're really funny. We should record this. And the podcast was born. Anthony, you'll actually love this. I myself am a Marine. I live 15 minutes from Quantico. I was at the opening of the Modern Day Marine Museum. I was one of the Marines for ceremonial platoon at the time. and got to salute President Bush as he walked down the path to do the dedication speech. But we talk about it all the time, how I'm the equal opportunity veteran. Yeah, it's different with these guys. You know, they're all it's a brotherhood, just like you said.
Absolutely.
These guys open arms welcomed me in. We've been shut down twice on Facebook. The first time was because Nick told the story about the time that he stepped on the deceased head of the guy that shot Joe, and it just went into nothing. And then the second time was actually because we said happy birthday, Devil Dogs, on our Marine Corps birthday.
I remember that.
And they shut us down for bullying because we said Devil Dogs.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, you should, Chris, you should go to the museum and see the uniform we have made up of all 17 guys. And one of Anthony's carvings is there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's on the second level.
Yeah, it's on the second floor, kind of by the 10 Tavern.
Yeah.
They I've been in there many times. They used to have a section for boot camp, and they've rotated it out since then. But I was at Quantico from 2005 to 2009. So when they were building it, you know, we got to quote stand fire watch while we were there because the building was unsecured. So we had to, and we were ceremonial platoon. We had nothing to do. Our mission was, you know, color guards, funerals, that kind of stuff. So it was like, oh, hey, you're warm bodies. Go stand there and make sure nobody tries to break in.
Hey, somebody had to do it.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the cool things is because we were ceremonial and we were still very in tune with drill, we got to be part of some of the exhibits. So I actually got to be part of the rifle manual for inspection arms.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
it's like a close up, or it was. I think they've swapped it out, but it was like a close up of here, and they videoed me doing the inspection arms. It was a lot of fun.
Is there any mannequins in there that look like you?
No.
They sculpt any after you?
No, I was a little big. Couple of my guys from my unit, but I was a little heavy set at the time, so I wasn't the ideal Marine.
Real quick, what's the name of the film and where can we stream it? The name of the film is Make Peace or Die. Make Peace or Die, and you can stream it on PBS.
And I shared the link early on in the chat too.
Yeah.
On PBS, it's called Make Peace or Die, Honor the Fallen.
Honor the Fallen.
So, yeah, I mean, does he have the website link too?
Yeah, he put it up.
All right, yeah, you can find it.
Yeah, I shared the link, yeah.
I just put it up again.
Yeah, so they just stopped the music here so I can finally talk. That's the quietest I've ever been my whole entire life, just so you guys know.
Yes. It was really strange.
And a couple of the Italians were, they were curious about what was going on, so they popped their head in to say hi. They're always, one thing I've figured out about Italy moving here is mental health is a huge issue here with it. And so they're always curious if I'm doing a podcast, they want to pop in, and that's totally okay. But hey, we need to wrap this up because we're limited on time with the radio show. But hey, I want to thank you both for coming on. Manny, I want to thank you for your service and what you've done since your service. It's so very important to find that outlet. And I know that your film has touched so many and will continue to touch so many. And please, feel free to come back on the show if you want to talk about a new project, or still talk about this one if things change. As I know, my film was filmed, COVID delayed the release of it, and then we wind up winning an Emmy last year, which I was never surprised in happening. So, but keep us informed about it. If another streaming channel picks it up or somewhere else somebody can watch it, please let us know. But hey, we'll go ahead and close this out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank, obviously, Make the Peace or Die, guys, for coming on. And I apologize, for the noise and everything. I was hoping it would be quieter, but, it is what it is. But early on, like I talked about for Reach Across America, you can scan that QR code and very easily, donate at least $10 for the wreath, and they can make sure that those, veterans are memorialized during the holiday season. So very important. But along with it, as you guys may know, that Reach Across America replays my podcast, mine and Lynn's podcast, at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. And it's super easy to find. You just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, and search for Reach. For Reach Across America Radio, for all the great programming, and Lynn's and I's also.
All right, Cliff has has frozen. So, like he said, go on Reach Across America for all the great programming. We stream on Fridays and on Sundays, and Cliff was over there with the music playing, but that's what we do as veterans, right? We adapt and we overcome. So that's why we're a team here. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the Irreverent Warriors. www.irreverentwarriors.com. Look at our events coming up, my event especially. And then if you haven't yet, check out www.VeteranTrashTalk.com for all our merch. On there, you can find all our podcasts as well, including the big podcast with the boys on there, which is on Saturdays. I keep forgetting what they're called. The Trash Talk Hour. That's
Veteran Trash Talk Hour.
Yes, the Veteran Trash Talk Hour on Saturdays. And you can find Nick and Dave and Joe and them on there. And what else do I need to talk about? Oh, I do want to thank you, Manny and Anthony, so much for coming on the show and telling us about your story. Once again, everybody, go on pbs.org and check out Make Peace or Die, Honor the Fallen, is their story about honoring the 17 Gold Star families, which is unlike any other documentary. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.